X-Files movie, also known as X-Files Fight the Future, was released in 1998 and it bridged the gap between season 5 and season 6 of the TV show. Now, I was a massive X-Files, still am a massive X-Files fan, always have been, always will be. Not looking forward to what Ryan Coogler's going to be doing. Gotta say that, I'll watch it, hold my hands up, I'll watch it, but can't say I have high hopes, particularly for that. But yeah, as I say, massive X-Files fan. I do a podcast with a good friend of mine, Graham. It's called the X-Files Revisited Podcast. Do check that out. It's on YouTube. We've recently done a very in-depth, scene-by-scene review of this movie. But if you don't want to sit there for an hour and 20 minutes listening to us dissect each and every scene, I thought I would just give my own review here on this channel, just in case you want to hear my quick thoughts on it. And here they are. So the story follows essentially an unearthing of an alien virus. It's been dormant since early man, lay in a cave somewhere in Texas, what was once an ice tundra. This virus is unearthed, and basically a government conspiracy sets about trying to cover it up, and it does so through an Oklahoma style bombing, thinking they're going to dispose of the evidence, this, that and the other. But what they don't bank on is Agents Mulder and Scully doing what Agents Mulder and Scully do, which is basically disobeying orders, going their own way and stumbling into a plot of all manner of conspiracies that they shouldn't have stumbled into, all because Agent Mulder goes about his business however he wants to go about it, basically, which is one of the reasons I love the character so much. But yeah, that sends them on this huge quest of government conspiracy, cover-ups, alien viruses, and yeah, like it's great. I like it, okay? Now, I come at this from two different kind of sides, which is, all right, as a movie on its own terms, if you've never seen the series, you're just coming to this the same way you might with a Star Trek movie, never watched the series, but I'll check out the films. How does it stack up? Well, actually pretty well, I think. Now, that may be purely subjective, because like it's very hard to kind of pull myself away from the fact that I do know the show before this. I had watched all 5 seasons before this, so I was very versed in X-Files lore. So maybe I've got blinkers on, I don't know. But I would imagine that if I came to this as a complete newbie, and I have spoken to people in various X-Files groups and stuff who say that their first experience of the X-Files was the movie, that it was the movie that got them into it. So I think it's fair to say that actually it does do a pretty good job for the uninitiated. I think that you can come to this having never seen the show and really get a gist of what the show is all about and why people love it. Particularly that central relationship between Mulder and Scully. The banter between the two of them throughout this movie is gold. It's kind of, yeah, quintessential Mulder and Scully dialogue where they're kind of ribbing each other, kind of taking the piss out of each other, and yet you can tell there's the utmost mutual respect and love that they have for each other. Not necessarily a sexual love, but like a platonic friendship kind of love. They've got each other's backs kind of love. And I love all that. I love seeing them up on the big screen. I love the fact that with a bigger budget comes much bigger set pieces. The bombing sequence in particular is a really great action set piece that feels authentic, feels real. It doesn't feel like a Michael Bay explosion where they just destroy a building with fireworks. No, a bomb goes off and it takes out a portion of the building and it looks realistic. The special effects in it are effective. We're dealing with green screen and model work here, but it's used in such an effective way that it feels far more believable than, as I say, the likes of a Michael Bay kind of explosion. We've got really other great action set pieces, like the whole final act that takes place on board this alien spaceship that is very otherworldly, very, very cold, very dank, very spooky, quite creepy. Got a bit of a Matrix-y vibe about it, and let's not forget this film came out a year before The Matrix, so there's no accusations there about, this stealing from The Matrix. If anything, it was the other way around. But Having said that, this film does do its own fair share of stealing as well from the likes of classics such as Alien. You know, you got an alien growing inside a human host and bursting its way out. All that's there, you know, so it uses tropes within the sci-fi genre, and yet it kind of makes them its own. You know, as the show has always done. You look at episodes like Ice that, you know, take a movie like The Thing and do it on the small screen, but put its own X-Files spin on it. Very much like that, you know, the movie does the same thing. So it's not new to the X-Files to do that, but it does, as I say, make it its own. And when you put Mulder and Scully at the centre of it all, it's really that's the big draw. We got a load of supporting characters in this, newbies for the film, as well as some regulars from the show. So Well Manicured Man is in this. It's kind of his big send-off for the show. He was a favourite character of mine, I think, when it came to the Syndicate side of things. But he's essentially the face of the Syndicate in the movie. We get a lot of dialogue between him and Mulder, and yeah, I feel like his presence, the character's presence, and certainly the dialogue between him and Mulder, and the dialogue between Martin Landau's character and Mulder and their interactions really grounds the movie in a kind of 70s political thriller kind of way. You know, you think movies like All the President's Men, things like that. That's essentially what the film is. It's a political thriller, like conspiracy, espionage, but with big-ass monster aliens thrown in for good measure. It takes everything about the 70s political thriller and just amps it up a notch with your 90s kind of sci-fi elements thrown in. As a fan of the show, I would say this is top tier. You know, if this was an episode, if we were reviewing this in the same way that we review episodes, it's a 5-star episode. It's like, okay, they've got a great conspiracy thriller story. A lot of the elements from the show have really come to the fore, and they're going places with it. They've got a huge budget in comparison. I mean, by today's standards, you know, like blockbusters and that, it's not really that huge a budget, $60 million. What they're able to do with that, given to the budgets they're used to working with on the show, it just means they can do a lot more, heck of a lot more. So from a visual standpoint, from an effects standpoint, from just the scope of what we're seeing on screen standpoint, everything's much bigger, everything's much better. There's certain elements in it that are like, okay, we get quite a few moments of monologuing, particularly from Mulder, where he's giving his whole backstory and his history. There are certain times when Scully talks in a way where you're like, that dialogue's a bit off. Why is it off? I know, it's because she's explaining to the uninitiated. It's because she's having to give a lot of exposition here for people who haven't seen the show before. So it does feel a bit off sometimes with the dialogue, but you understand it. As a fan, you understand why they're speaking that way. But once you get over it, once you've had those little moments where, okay, we'll fill in the blanks with a bit of exposition, great, now we can move on. Once they move on, we're into the good stuff. There is one action set piece. I say action set piece. It's a set piece during the middle of the film involving these two helicopters where they chase Mulder and Scully away from this field. And it's the scene in the film that for me has always been a bit, all right, that was a bit pointless. It's just a lot of Mulder and Scully running about, and it kind of comes to nothing. But on the whole, very well made, brilliant character stuff between Mulder and Scully. Bit of a shame that Scully's kind of taken out of action in much of the third act. It kind of becomes more Mulder-centric in that third act. But yeah, it's fine. It's okay. I roll with it. It's a movie trope, you know, damsel in distress and all that. They're my flaws. They're the thing, and they kind of really come out at me because I've seen the movie so many times. But if you ask me, yeah, back in '98, watching this for the first time on the big screen, one of the first films that I went to see 3 times at the movies, by the way, then I was in my element. As an X-Files fanatic, I was absolutely in my element. This ticked all my boxes. I was entertained from start to finish, and I just wanted to see more. So yeah, really great film for X-Files fans. Pretty damn solid film for the uninitiated. If you haven't seen it, if you've not seen the show but you want a kind of introduction, if you want to say, oh, what's it all about? Why do people like it so much? It's worth a shot. I mean, personally, I'd say watch the first episode, watch the pilot episode, and I think you'd be hooked. But if you want to see something a bit bigger, a bit grander in scale, then yeah, check out the first movie and I guarantee you'll want to go back and watch the show. That's my thoughts. If you, as I say, if you want to see our in-depth thoughts, if you want to see us go a bit deeper into the whole movie, scene by scene, do check out mine and Graham's review over on the X-Files Revisited podcast. You can find that on YouTube and iTunes and Spotify. If you're not interested in doing that and you're just happy to hear my thoughts on it, well, there you go. You've heard them. But I want to know what your thoughts are. So please do leave them down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about the film. Also, let me know your thoughts on the show if you're a fan. And thank you for watching this review. And until next time, cracking.